The Turtles' co-founder Mark Volman has died aged 78. Guitarist and vocalist Volman passed away on September 5th after a brief, unexpected illness in Nashville, Tennessee, his representative confirmed in a statement to People. The loss of Volman reverberated not just through the tight-knit circle of family and friends who knew him personally, but also throughout the wider world of music, where his voice, his humor, his energy, and his unshakable love for performance had defined an era. He was not simply a man who played in a popular band of the 1960s. He was part of the cultural fabric of that revolutionary time, and his contributions, though often tucked behind the massive shadow cast by his band's most famous song, were essential to the shape that pop and rock music took in America. The Turtles were known for hits including the Billboard #1 single Happy Together in 1967 and Eleanor in 1968. These were not just songs. They were soundtracks to a shifting America, a nation in the midst of political upheaval, countercultural revolutions, and artistic awakenings. For many, hearing Happy Together was a reminder of youthful optimism in a time when the world felt anything but certain. The way Volman's harmonies blended with Howard Kalin's vocals captured joy, love, and playful idealism. It was music that carried a generation through turbulent years. Volman joined the Turtles, then known as the Night Riders and later the Crossfires, in 1963 when he was a student at Westchester High School in California with fellow founding member Howard Kalin. The two young men, both still teenagers, had little idea that their after-school band would one day take them onto national charts, into stadiums, and even onto the big screen. Volman first started out as a saxophonist in the surf music band, which reflected the Southern California scene at the time. Surf music, with its upbeat instrumentals and beach-inspired culture, was the dominant sound, and Volman's horn gave the band a groove that fit right in. But as musical tastes shifted, so too did the band. Volman and Kalin stepped into the role of lead vocalists when the group switched to folk rock, a genre that better matched the expanding ambitions of American youth who wanted music that carried a message along with its melody. The founding lineup of the Turtles became Volman, Kalin, Don Murray, Al Nickel, Jim Tucker, and Chuck Ports. Together, this group of California dreamers built a sound that borrowed from folk, surf, and the blossoming psychedelic influences that were sweeping across Los Angeles and San Francisco. Later, bassists Chip Douglas and Jim Pons, and drummers Joel Larson, Johnny Barbada, and John Sider would rotate into the band, each bringing something new while still maintaining the unique spirit that made the Turtles distinctive. Their breakthrough single, a cover of Bob Dylan's It Ain't Me Babe, was released in 1965 and reached the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was a surprising hit. Dylan's song was not written to be commercial, but Volman and his bandmates turned it into a polished folk rock anthem that appealed to teenagers, looking for something edgy yet accessible. That success gave the group a platform, and soon they were being played across radio stations nationwide. The follow-up singles Let Me Be and You Baby proved that their debut hit wasn't a fluke, though not every track resonated with audiences. Songs like Grim Reaper of Love and Can I Get to Know You Better bombed in the U.S., a reminder that even talented bands could struggle to consistently capture lightning in a bottle. Still, the group kept evolving, refining their sound and image until they struck cultural gold. In 1966, after Murray and Ports quit, Barbada and Douglas entered the group, injecting new energy into the lineup. The timing was fortuitous. By the following year, the band would create the song that defined not just their career, but also a moment in American pop history. Happy Together was released in 1967 and became the group's most famous single, kicking the Beatles' Penny Lane off the top of the U.S. charts. To dethrone the Beatles at the peak of their creative dominance was no small achievement, and the song's success solidified the Turtles as more than just another one-hit wonder. The upbeat harmonies and playful lyrics were quintessentially 1960s, an antidote to the political strife dominating the news. For many listeners, it was pure joy condensed into 3 minutes of vinyl. That same year, Jim Tucker quit the band, marking one of several lineup changes that came as the Turtles adjusted to fame and the pressures of the recording industry. In 1968, they released a concept album called The Turtles Present the Battle of the Bands, which featured hit singles Eleanor and You Showed Me. This playful, experimental record showcased their willingness to parody the music industry while still delivering polished tracks. Volman, known for his distinctive curly locks and exuberant stage presence, embodied the carefree spirit of the band. So distinctive was his look that NME magazine reported he had insured his hair for $100,000, a quirky anecdote that became part of his legend. Their final original album, Turtle Soup, came in 1969 amid conflicts with their record label, White Whale Records, who wanted to mold the band into a pop act like the Monkees. Volman and Kalin, however, resisted becoming pawns of the industry. The tension with White Whale was a bitter struggle that eventually led to the group's breakup in 1970. But the end of the Turtles was not the end for Volman. Alongside Kalin, he transitioned into a new chapter by joining Frank Zappa's band, the Mothers of Invention. This was a bold leap, one that showcased Volman's versatility as a performer. Zappa's music was avant-garde, satirical, and wildly experimental, worlds away from the radio-friendly pop hits of the Turtles. Yet Volman and Kalin, unable to use the Turtles' name due to contractual disputes with White Whale, embraced their new identity as the Fluorescent Leech and Eddie, or Flo and Eddie. Under these aliases, they expanded their artistry, performing not just as vocalists but also as satirical characters who brought humor to Zappa's biting critiques of culture and politics. Volman and Kalin played on several Zappa albums and even starred in his 1971 film 200 Motels. They also contributed their voices as backing singers on T-Rex songs, including the 1971 hit Get It On, Bang a Gong, and the albums Electric Warrior and The Slider. Their harmonies, though subtle, enriched the soundscapes of glam rock and demonstrated how far their influence extended beyond the confines of the Turtles. By the 1990s, Volman began to shift his focus from performance to academia. In 1992, he enrolled at Loyola Marymount University, pursuing a bachelor's degree while balancing the demands of his music career. It was a decision that shocked some of his peers. Why would a rock star return to school in his 40s? But, for Volman, education was a lifelong passion. In 1997, at age 50, he proudly graduated with his degree. He went on to earn a master's degree in fine arts with an emphasis in screenwriting in 1999, also from Loyola. Armed with academic credentials and decades of real-world experience in the entertainment industry, Volman transitioned into teaching. He became an influential professor, teaching music business and industry courses in the Communications and Fine Arts Department at Loyola. Later, he joined Belmont University in Nashville, where he served as an associate professor and coordinator of the Entertainment Industry Studies program. To his students, he wasn't just a rock legend, but also a mentor who could bridge the gap between classroom theory and the gritty realities of the music business. Many of his students have credited him with inspiring them to pursue their dreams in music, using the same determination and creativity that fueled his own career. Even while teaching, Volman never abandoned performing. In 2015, he reunited with Kalin for The Turtles, featuring Flo and Eddie as part of the Happy Together tour, celebrating the band's 50th anniversary. Fans, old and new, flocked to hear the songs that had shaped their youth, and Volman relished the opportunity to relive the magic. That same year, he was diagnosed with throat cancer, a devastating blow for a vocalist whose voice had been his life's instrument. Yet, with characteristic resilience, Volman fought through treatment and was declared cancer-free in 2016.